I'm a big fan of racket sports, and when I need to book a court, I turn to today's sponsor. Today's podcast is sponsored by Matcheye, the fastest growing platform for racket sports in the Nordics. With Matcheye, you can easily book racket sport courts, courses, and activities at over 750 venues across 9 countries. Download the Matcheye app and book your next racket sport experience today. Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipsson. Today's guest is Hernan Auguste. He's the Director of International Development at World Padel Tour. He has a long career as a professional player in both tennis and padel, and in padel he played professionally for 22 years and was ranked number 1 player in the world between 1997 and 2000, as well as becoming the world champion in 2000 and 2006. He retired from playing in 2012 and is today promoting the sport of padel worldwide. We talk about the rapid increase of the sport, what World Padel Tour has done to improve the fan experience, and what lies ahead. Hernan Auguste, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Hi, how are you, Marcus?
I'm great. I'm so glad to have you on. And you are the Director of International Development at the World Padel Tour. Can you tell us a little bit about your responsibilities there?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was a player for 22 years. I was a professional player. Then once I stopped playing, I was training some of the players, the top players, and working in my club here in Madrid. Well, finally, 2 years after I quit playing, World Padel Tour came to me asking if I want to work inside of the company and trying to, develop the World Padel Tour, the tour around the world. And that is what I'm doing right now since the last 6 years. I'm trying to find, different companies in different countries to develop the World Padel Tour like we do in Sweden, in Portugal, in Italy, in Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, a lot of countries that we are doing right now the World Padel Tour.
I see, that's very interesting. And you mentioned Sweden, which is where I am. And the sport of padel has really boomed here the last couple of years. It's almost impossible to get a time to play. It's fully booked in all the places, and it's one of the most rapidly increasing sports. So why do you think that there has been such an interest for padel? Why do you think it attracts so many people?
Well, I think that the sport is beautiful for play, for everybody. I think that the most important thing is not that in Sweden it's boom. I think this is going to boom all around the world. Why? Because I think it's it's an easy game to play. It's easy for playing for everybody, for kids, for people from any age, women, men, everybody can play this sport. And I think it's a way to have fun, to make sport, it's health, it's everything, in combined that makes the sport so successful. That's why I think that this is a sport for the future. And of course, I know what's happening in Sweden because I have a lot of friends there. And we are very happy, that this is coming out. And also, we are very surprised how they're building the clubs. They have such a good quality, the club, that is so nice to go there and play padel. So I have only congratulate all the people that they're, involved in this development of the padel in Sweden. So I think that this will become in other countries also.
How is the interest for padel on other continents, such as North America and Asia?
Well, it's coming. I'm sure in the next 5 years we will have a good development in these countries. They are so big. These countries are so big, and there's so many sports. Even in the United States, there's so many sports. But my work is to try to find the way that this could happen. And I think, and I'm sure that in Asia and in United States in the next 5 years, we will have a good development of the padel. I don't know if it will be so big as is in the North Europe right now, but I'm sure that more and more people, they're going to start playing padel. Why? Because I know that it's very funny and it's so good to play padel for the people. So there's no way that this sport cannot grow in those countries also.
For sure. You mentioned before that you are talking to companies to help grow the sport. Another strategy has been to bring top-ranked players to other countries. For example, Paquito Navarro has been in Sweden for several occasions. What other strategies are in place to grow the sport?
Well, we as World Padel Tour, our strategy is to show the world right now what we are doing and streaming. You know that we're investing a lot of money to show the sport to all around the world by social media, by streaming. We spend really a lot of money the last 5 years showing the best paddle in the world. You know, we are doing a high quality broadcasting. So I think that's one of the best things that we have been doing the last years is to show the people the sport on the TV, you know, at home. They can watch the streaming, they can watch the TV live. So now we are doing it in English. Since this year, we made all the tournament semifinals and finals in English, and we are going to increase in the future. So I think that is one of the most important things that we do. Then we do in some countries that they are growing, we make exhibitions with the World Padel Tour to show the players, you know, the people, how the players are, how they do. I mean, we're trying to be there involved in the event. And then we don't develop the paddle as a sport in each country. You know, that's more the federations. What we do and, you know, and the entrepreneurs, what we do is try to show the people the show, you know, the sport, the professional players. So that is our invest to promote paddle around the world. And I think that World Padel Tour is doing a big effort of making this sport bigger and bigger because I think that we are really showing the people the best paddle in the world, and the way that we are broadcasting that is very good.
I can only agree. I've seen some of the broadcasting. It's really great. And as you said, also now you have focused more on English because previously there was a lot of information in Spanish. And I mean, this, of course, will help to reach out to way more people.
Of course.
You mentioned also the federation. So what is the relationship between the World Padel Tour and the federation, and how do you work together?
Well, we work together with the FIP, with International Padel Federation. I mean, we are having a unique ranking. I mean, that's very important. You know, now the International Padel Federation is working really very good. You know, they are making the small tournaments for the younger players to come out. So I think that we are working together very good. And I think that's the way that we, the International Federation, obviously through their federations, local federations in each country, we have to work together. That's the only way. And we are doing it. The last year and a half, we have been working very close to each other, and I think that we are doing a great work.
You are just back from the Master Finals, and there were some upgrades for the fans, which was included. You have changed, first of all, the color on the pitch, and also you have added the audio from the bench.
Yeah, well, about the audio, we have been working with that and with the players since more than a year ago that we are working in that. I think that is something new and it's something good for the people, you know, that they want to listen what the coach is saying to them, what the players they can say, you know. I think that we have to try to get more things in the sport. We have to be different of other sports. We don't have to be, I mean, if this doesn't happen I'm just saying tennis, why we do it? Why not? Right now, because of the COVID, also the people, they don't have to wait until they have to change size to get into the stadium. Well, if they do it with respect, why not? I mean, we have to try to see things that they can be better for the sport, for the people, for the fans. And I think that between the players and the World Padel Tour, we have to work together to make it more and more fun and more spectacular for the people. I mean, that's the way that we have to work together for the future of sport.
You mentioned COVID. Of course, we are living in the pandemic now. And in Sweden, at least, I don't know how it is in other countries, padel is one of the few sports that are still allowed to play. And now with the Masters finals and everything, how did you set that up with regards to COVID and player safety?
Well, all the players, all the staff, they have to travel to each tournament. They have to do a PCR, 72 hours before the event, and we have a doctor. We have our own doctors here in the World Padel Tour that has to allow all those PCRs. So we have a huge control with all the players and the staff that we are working, right? Then about our master final, we have a lot of tournaments. Most of the tournaments this year was without any people because there was not allowed to be people on the stands. So, but in Menorca, that is an island and there's no COVID over there, was one of the places that we were, guaranteed that we could make the tournament and also that we could have a little bit of people, right? We have only, I think was the stadium for 5,000 people, we have only 1,000. So we try all the year, we work very close here with the government of Spain, of each community, to work with them. The same happened when we went to Italy. We have to follow all the rules, and that's what we did.
And it was a pretty spectacular event in the end. So congratulations on that. It was really great.
Yeah. We tried to do it. I mean, we know that was not like last year in Barcelona when we have 10,000 people. That makes much bigger the event. But at least we try to make it as good as we can. Knowing that it's not a very easy year for everybody.
Of course. And speaking of the Master Finals, the winners and also the top-ranked players are almost exclusively now from Spain or Argentina. Now, when we are talking about the growth of the sport and expanding to more countries, when do you think that we can see a wider range of nationalities in the top rankings in the World Padel Tour?
I think if we work together, with the FIP, with International Padel Federation, and we make that small tournaments that they are doing, and we make it much bigger, those tournaments, and more around the world, then we are going to make more challengers next year. We have to think that this year is a special year because we were, really growing, and this year, well, we did what we could. And also, I think that if we work in that way, we will be able to have more players from different countries. I know that players from France, they're improving a lot. The same from Portugal, the same from Italy, the same from Sweden, the same from Austria. There's a lot of players coming around, to play here. There's some players coming up from Chile, from Uruguay, from Brazil, from Mexico. Well, the Brazilian guys, they are top players. There's a few girls also coming that are really good from France that are already made draw. I think that in the next 5 years, we should have more and more players coming from each country. I'm sure about that.
I hope so too. Today's episode is sponsored by Matchai. Matchai exists to empower people within racket sports through user-friendly tech. With more than 750 active venues and close to 750,000 players already connected, Matchai is on an impressive international expansion journey. Representing some of the best players in the world, this Swedish-based tech company has become a household name within the padel community. Matchai has almost 10 years of experience within the racket sports tech and offer racket sport venues worldwide a user-friendly booking and management platform with all the tools you need and more to run a successful and modern racket sports club. Check out their website, matchai.se, for more information on how to connect your venue to one of the world's leading racket sports platforms. If we talk a little bit about you, as you mentioned in the beginning, you come from a background as a player, and you have been top ranked as a junior in tennis and also top ranked in padel. And you retired from playing in 2012. So how have these experiences as a player helped you now into your professional career in office, so to speak?
Well, I think a lot, because when you have been there inside, the kitchen, as we said here in Spanish, you have a different perspective of what is what happened in the tournament. We have different feeling of different things. I think if you are a player, of course, you have things that you have to learn, because when you change, you're not playing anymore and you have to do another thing. You have to learn a lot of things, but it's a combination of both. I mean, you have a lot of experience because you played, and also you have to learn a lot of things that I have been doing and I will do in the next years, because I still have to learn a lot of things. But I think that is very important. If you have been a player, it helps you a lot, of course.
Yeah. Juan Martín Díaz recently made a comeback at the age of 45. You don't have any plans of doing a comeback?
Well, I'm 50, so I'm a little bit older. No. I'm very happy what I'm doing right now. I stopped playing when I was 42. I think that was a perfect age to stop playing. I was very, satisfied what I did during my professional career. So right now I'm just focused in making the padel grow around the world from another side.
Of course. What advice would you give young people who wants to pursue a career in sports management, or maybe even in padel?
I think that right now is a good chance to be involved in padel. The padel is really new a sport, so I think that it's a good chance to be involved in the sport. I think that a lot of opportunities will come with padel around the world. I'm so sure. this is the sport of the future. And I know that anyone that wants to be involved in paddle has to think about, a long term for working in this, because every day we have new numbers, every day we are growing, every day something comes out. And I think that, as I told you in the beginning, and as I told you, and I told everybody, this sport is huge and it's going to grow a lot.
And I think that the reason for that also is that it can be played by literally everyone in all ages. It's if you go to the arenas here and you have young teenagers and you have senior players also, and everyone can enjoy it on their level.
Yeah, I mean, I just give you an example. When it comes to the weekend, I have 3 kids. I mean, they're 13, 10, and 8, and my wife. When we want to do something together on the weekend, we play paddle. We could make another sports also together, because there's a lot of sports that you can do it in family. Skiing, maybe playing golf, it would be a little bit difficult because you have to spend a long time, playing that. But paddle, if you're playing in the neighborhood with your friends or whatever, I mean, it's much easier that you can be involved with different, type of players or not. Me, because I was a professional, I'm much a little bit different, because it's not so easy for me to play and have fun with all the people. I have to play with some players that they're really good. But my kids or my wife, they can play with everybody and they have fun with everybody.
It's fun that you mentioned that you're playing with your family, because when Paquito Navarro was in Sweden, he was interviewed by the local newspaper and he said that the tips was not to play with your wife. That's what he said.
No, I do.
I see. So looking forward, what can we look forward to in 2021 from World Padel Tour?
Well, we are working in that. We are working in the calendar right now. And, as you know, we are waiting to see what happens, with all the evolution of the pandemic, how it's going to be, the vaccine, everything that is coming out. We are waiting like everybody's waiting right now. We are supposed to start on March, like we do every year. And, well, hopefully we think that we could make it. It will depend how this is going to be, in the next weeks, in the next month. So we always will try to follow what the government says, and there's no way that we can do another thing. So we have to wait and see what happens. We hope that this is over in the future, in the next few months, so we can come back to the normally again and we can have the big events that we used to do it in 2019.
Any plans to go outside of Spain for these events?
Yes, of course. I mean, this year we were supposed to go to a lot of countries outside of Spain, but it wasn't not easy at all. So it depends, but we have a calendar with a lot of tournaments outside of Spain, like we have in 2019, and we are going to grow on 2022. There's new countries coming for 2022. 21 is much difficult right now, but for 2022 we are going to have a lot of new countries coming out.
Anything you can give away right now?
No, I can't. But I mean, there's a lot of countries. Everybody it's very easy. When you see that new countries are coming out with paddle, World Padel Tour will be there in the future, for sure.
Is there something that I haven't asked you that you would like to mention?
No, I mean, right now, I'm very happy, and I have to be great. We have to be grateful with the World Padel Tour and with the players, just talking about our tour, right? That we both make a big effort to make it happen this year. I think when we combine the players and the tour, we work together and we make, we are stronger. And I think that this year we show everybody that we are, that we love this sport. We love the people to watch professional paddlers. So I just have to thank, what happened this year from our side. Also, we are sad also because, the pandemic it was something very difficult for all the families and, and friends and people close to us and, around the world, that people that have died and difficult with the work and all that. So from World Padel Tour, we only have to thank that we can make our work and we can still go on.
Yeah, of course. I think you did a great job in still putting up successful events. And as you said, with the broadcasting, it's been very interesting to follow. And now when so many sports are cancelled, it's nice to be able to at least watch some sports.
Yeah, that's what we tried to do from the beginning. The first month was very difficult because we didn't know what's going to happen. And everything is much easier when you look, after. But when you have to make decisions before, you have to make decisions, and sometimes your decisions can be good and can be wrong, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the way that we always work, making decisions and going on, we are not going to stop, and we are going to try to make our best always.
That sounds great. So the last question is, if you could choose the next guest on this podcast, who do you think that I should talk to?
Okay, I will talk with our partners in Sweden, with the Swedish Padel Open company, with Urban and Niklas. I think that they did 2 great tournaments in Boston. They were so nice.
Yeah.
And they are thinking to do something really big in Sweden with the tournament. So I think that maybe that could be a good chance also.
Definitely. Thank you so much for being on the Sports Management Podcast, and good luck in the future with everything at World Padel Tour.
Thank you, Marcus. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Sports Management Podcast. Do you have thoughts or ideas about this podcast, or do you know someone that I should interview next? Please reach out to me on sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or visit my website sportsmanagementpodcast.com. If you prefer social media, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at sportsmpodcast.